And joining me now in the studio with more on Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's visit to Washington, D.C. are Gideon, founder and president of the Jerusalem-Washington Center, and veteran Israeli journalist and author Dror Yemini. Thank you both for joining us today. So, Gideon, let's start with you. You know, the Prime Minister is set to address Congress, have his long-awaited meeting with President Biden. What's the main purpose of this visit, and why now?
Well, I think the main purpose of the visit is probably, I'd say the Prime Minister has three goals. I think the first is to convey to the American people why they should be supporting Israel in this war with Gaza, potentially with Lebanon, and even with Iran. I think he wants to invigorate Israel supporters to put pressure on their representatives, especially in the Democratic Party, so that the Democratic Party will be more supportive of Israel as much as possible. And I think also there, he would like to speak to enough pro-Israel Democratic Party representatives who will hopefully, by maybe being more outspoken about Israel, it'll cause those who are sitting on the fence, which is about half of the Democratic Party, to vote more to support Israel. And finally, I think by speaking to the American people, hopefully he'll invigorate supporters on the Republican side to go out and vote for Trump, even though, of course, he won't say anything he won't say anything that says go vote for Trump, but by saying that we need the support and it's important to support us, the message will be understood.
And Dror, do you agree with that assessment? I mean, what message do you think Netanyahu is bringing with him to Washington?
I don't know, because I just remember that last time it was not the best way in order to convince the American public opinion, in order to not let this agreement with the Iranians go on. It did not work. I hope this time it's going to work more. Let's not forget, we began this war with, I would say, the unprecedented support to Israel. And now we are, after more than almost 10 months, we are speaking about the worst situations that Israel ever faced. Something happened. Something happened. And we cannot exempt Netanyahu from what happened. He is the Prime Minister. So he made a lot of mistakes. I do hope that he will correct something, because without any political debate that we might have about Netanyahu, we want the best for Israel. That's what we want. So we do hope that he will, as my friend said, that he will succeed in convincing more people in the case of Israel and in supporting Israel. I do hope that it will happen.
I would add that also the America and even the Congress that Netanyahu is speaking to now, as opposed to last time he was there in 2015 and he spoke, is very different. First of all, the Democratic Party has moved much farther to the left. Remember, even one of Israel's supposedly best friends in the Senate, Chuck Schumer, called for the resignation of Netanyahu, and he put him in the same basket as Smotrich and Ben Gvir. That's the first thing. So there's much less support on the Democratic Party side for Israel now. And also, second, on the Republican side, we're seeing cracks in the traditional and almost wall-to-wall support for Israel. Some are asking, especially on the more libertarian side, wait a second, why are we sending money to Israel? Like, we have problems on our border, our economy is not doing so well, we have runaway inflation. So it's also important to speak to that constituency, why it's into America's advantage to support Israel. So that's a difference between 9 years from the last speech to this speech now.
Yeah, it didn't work until now. We do hope that something will change. But we have to admit that it did not work until now. And what we see is less support in Israel. It's not only the universities. I mean, many times we tell ourselves, we delude ourselves that maybe it's only the universities, maybe it's only students. No, it's not. It's not. It's much worse. Yes, you were completely right by saying that something happened in the Democratic Party. Yes. But we have to think about our mistake, about the Israeli government mistakes, by not convincing the American public opinion, and mainly the Democrats, that they are wrong. And they are wrong. needless to say. They are completely wrong. They many times do not understand the realities in the Middle East.
Well,
and we have a
Gideon,
problem.
I want to ask you, because, Netanyahu waited a very long time for this meeting with President Biden, who is now on his way out. I mean, not quite the meeting that he had hoped for, perhaps. I mean, how do you think that the meeting between Bibi and Biden will play out? I mean, it's no secret they've had their differences, as you've both mentioned, about the changes within the Democratic Party. Biden is not concerned with your election now. Could this be maybe a risky move, a detrimental move for Netanyahu?
Biden is still the president of the United States. And I think that this only happened now because, or in this area of time, because we're after a period of a few months where America has withheld munitions from Israel that Israel said it's needed. And as a reservist in Gaza, I can tell you we feel that. So I think Netanyahu waited and I guess did all that he could before he came to Congress or before they arranged the speaking engagement.
So Benjol, Netanyahu is also supposed to meet with Kamala Harris, whose track record on Israel is controversial. She's made a number of anti-Israel statements that have resurfaced recently. I mean, how do you think that a meeting like that would play out, and what would Netanyahu hope to gain out of that?
It's very interesting because actually when we are speaking about the White House, she was in charge on the connection with the Muslims, with the Muslim communities. I mean, it was not something which was official, but that was her job. So I want to assume that maybe the anti-Israeli declaration were because of her special job, unofficial job. But yes, we have a problem. We have a problem because she doesn't have this kind of deep connection. I mean, she never declared about herself that she is a Zionist, and I guess Joe Biden is the last president of the United States that is declaring publicly. By the way, he just said it a week ago, I think. A week ago, saying again, and whoever is familiar with the American public opinion knows, mainly among the Democrats, he knows that to say something like that is wow, because for so many people, unfortunately, being a Zionist, it's like being a fascist. The industry of lies is working, unfortunately, and that's why so many people think Zionism is maybe fascism. No, it's not. Zionism is humanism. Zionism is the right of Israel to exist. Zionism is a self-determination. How can you fight for the self-determination of Palestinians and in the same time deny the right of Jews for self-determination? Now, Joe Biden understands it. I'm not sure that Kamala Harris does.
I think also that Joe Biden, even though he says he's a Zionist, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, they both reflect the base of the Democratic Party, and that base of the Democratic Party is not pro-Israel. And Joe Biden, he's been in politics for 50 years. Joe Biden has moved with the party on every issue. Whatever's at the forefront of the party, he'll be the loudest on that issue. And Israel has now become a not so popular issue with the party.
So what about Trump? I mean, will we see a Trump-Netanyahu reunion? Because, reports from the U.S. indicate, for example, that J.D. Vance will not be attending Netanyahu's speech either. We know that there's some bad blood between Netanyahu and Trump. I mean, what do you make of this?
It's very interesting, but I think they can overcome. I don't think that it will continue. Yes, we heard this kind of remarks against Netanyahu on behalf of Trump. It's not the problem. Yeah, okay, I mean, something which might happen. I'm not sure that Trump has good reasons, by the way. I think that Netanyahu, what he did when he blasted Joe Biden was the right thing to do. But I do hope for all of us, and I think it will happen, they will compromise on the differences. And because generally speaking, yes, we have a problem. We have a problem also in some parts of the Republican Party, but generally speaking, they are pro-Israelis, and they will continue, I think, to be pro-Israelis. And let's hope that we see nice smiles at the end of the meeting.
And Gideon, I mean, would you agree with that the Republican Party is a lot more pro-Israel, that Trump would be a better president for Israel?
Absolutely. I want to mention two things. First of all, there's been a bad blood between Trump and many people. Rand Paul called him a cancer to the party, but once Trump became president, they made up. He called Ted Cruz the biggest liar he's ever seen, and they made up. And Nikki Haley also had severe criticism of him, and then she became his ambassador to the UN. So Trump knows how to make up with people. He moves on. So I don't think there should be any problem. I think for Israel, what's important is that if Israel wants to have a good relationship with a President Trump, the relationship it has to want is to basically say, we want to be your strategic partner. We want to help advance American interests in the Middle East. We want to project American strength. We're not asking for money. We want diplomatic support. We want you to sell us the weapons that we need. And that type of relationship will fit perfectly with a President Trump's outlook. But if Israel comes and says, listen, we need money, we need more aid, help us rebuild our southern communities, that type of request or that type of relationship will not be a healthy relationship between President Trump and Netanyahu or Israel, because President Trump doesn't like to dish out money. He'll be happy to give diplomatic support where necessary, but he wants to focus America's money on America.
All right, well, Dror, Yemini, Gideon, Israel, thank you so much for joining us today for this important panel discussion.